So many people here made that step here on country. So what we need to do now is we need to walk together, side by side, not in front or behind, but beside us, and that's for the future, for us all and our younger generation. I also want to pay our respects to the ocean people and everyone in this stadium here on country. Pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and the younger generation emerging. What a really great opportunity to come together with different cultures, backgrounds coming together. It's a really great opportunity to get to know who we are. Not only that, I'd like to thank, as I can see, a lot of support from the families, our parents, grandparents, extended families and friends for their support. I'd like to thank the trainers for all their support in seeing such a great event like this year coming together. So Jason Kerr's my name. I'm a traditional owner here of Jara Country. Firstly, we give respect to our elders, past and present, and the younger generation emerging. We also give respect to our elders and leaders in our communities that have laid down the foundation for us here today. We also give respect to the young emerging leaders. It is through the younger generation where our future lies. Through their feet, hands and voice, where we hope they strive for more than what we could. We also give respects to our landscape, our rivers, our streams, the soil, the air, our mountains and our cultural values. This is my welcome here tonight on the homelands of Jara Country. Thank you and wish the players all the best and congratulations.
Would you please thank Jason Kerr? It's time to bring our two teams out to record our starting seven for tonight's game between the Waikato and the Melbourne Vixens.
A packed house here at Red Energy Arena in Bendigo. Over 3,000 people in the stands and counting. What a night of netball ahead. My name is Hannah Kuhar. Georgia Rajic is beside me. Gee, how great is this intensity?
It is brilliant. I'm really looking forward to seeing two teams from across the ditch, and here in the Vixens play against each other. It's not often that we get to see club teams play against each other in such an occasion, so I'm looking forward to a really good game of netball.
Well, what a fantastic one we do have, and of course, on behalf of Netball Victoria and the Melbourne Vixens, we would like to acknowledge the Dja Dja Wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we're on today, and pay our respects to elders past and present. A beautiful welcome to country from Uncle Jason. As the starting sevens get onto court, we're going to mention them in a sec. Of course, we are here in Bendigo, and how good it is to have netball here, made possible by the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo. Of course, the SSN season round the corner, Saturday 5th of April, and that's the competition the Melbourne Vixens like to dominate. G, do you want to run us through the starting seven for the Vixens?
Can do, Hannah. So in goal shooter, Sophie Garvin. Goal attack, Kira Austin. Wing attack, Hannah Mundy. Centre, Kate Maloney. Wing defence, Zara Walters. Goal defence, Kate Eddy. And goalkeeper, Joe Weston, Maggie Karras, Lily Graham and Rudy Ellis on the bench for the Melbourne Vixens.
It's pretty standard setup for the Vixens. At this point in pre-season, they're not trialling different combinations anymore. They're getting ready for round one.
Yeah, curious enough, we have seen Zara Walters feature in that wing defence position quite a lot.
As play gets underway, and the first centre pass is going the way of Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic. And goal shooter Savio Tui, goal attack Emilian Ignacio, wing attack Claire O'Brien, centre Ali Wishia, wing defence Georgie Edgecombe, goal defence Ocean Mahi, and goalkeeper is Erna Mikare. So,
yeah, strong start here from the Magic. Well, it took a couple of options before they were able to bring it into their circle, but they get on the board for the first goal.
Vixens now wanting to make something off their first centre pass. Hands already getting stuck in O'Brien with her first penalty of the day. Strong ball across Mundy, and it's too high for Austin. Luckily, Maloney is chasing it down. Such a strong captain she is, Kate Maloney. Of course, the Vixens. They had a tough week at the Team Girls Cup most recently. A lot of pre-season netball being played. This almost their final stop before Saturday, 5th of April, when it's the Vixens heading to Adelaide to take on the Thunderbirds in that grand final rematch.
Yeah, personally really excited. We did get a taste for it a couple of weeks ago in the Ballarat Blitz, which we were also lucky enough to be there. So well, Kate, I can't hurt, but what my matchup for this game is going to be between the Silver Ferns and Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic captain Amelia Ignacio and Kate Eddy. I mean, big opportunity here for Eddy in goal defence. Usually see her across that wing defence and goal defence position. Normally it'd be Jo Weston in that matchup, but really curious to see how Eddy is able to perform.
Well, speaking of Weston, she tries to get hands in the line of the ball, but Ignacio, your player to watch, Georgia Rajic, she looks very comfortable from that two-point territory. Of course, a new territory for her to shoot from in 2025 with the competition in New Zealand, the ANZ, looking at the two-point shot now. Yeah,
really interesting that the Premiership will be including that. So I guess this is even more of a reason to have these hit-outs with the teams in the Super Netball, because they, of course, have a lot of familiarity and had the rule for quite some time now. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to perform. But, I mean, if there's a player you think who's going to adjust to it, well, it's going to be Amelia Ignacio.
Oh, she's played a lot of netball. You think she'd be able to adjust to something new.
Of course, 119 games in the National League across the ANZ Championship and Premiership, and 79 caps for her country. She's been a remarkable captain over the past couple of years as well.
Speaking of leading the way, Garvin just in front of the post, makes good on the repeated attempt. And again, it's nail-biting netball this start to the first term. O'Brien, great drive to the top of the circle. Slight disruption from Walters, throwing her body in the way. Where's the one-on-one? Chewy, great take. She's so known for that aerial elevation and the ability to take space, work herself to post. That's a classic move that a lot of fans across the ditch love to see.
Yeah, really curious of the amount of balks on that shot as well. So I think she'll be really interesting to see how she is able to adjust in the game, is whether it's just first hit out things as well. Of course, we've spoken about the fact Super Netball's coming back on the 5th of April, but the ANZ Premiership doesn't come back until the 10th of May. It's quite a long time, very different points in their preseason, Hannah.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you make, G. I think we need to remember that for these teams, the Vixens, they've been hard at training, and many of their players, of course, diamonds. So they barely even had a summer. They might have had a Christmas Day, maybe a New Year's, but they were playing a lot of international netball. Flick across to Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic. I was chatting with their coach, Mary Jane Aroha, earlier today. And she said these players have only had 3 days of training, so 5 sessions crammed into 3 days. It's a very different point of a pre-season, given that their season starts so much later in the year.
Absolutely. So we're really curious to see, well, they're matching the Vixens for goals at the moment to actually have the lead thanks to the benefit of having that first centre. So really curious to see, are they going to have the legs to run out? Because, of course, there is no substitution for match fitness when it comes to game day prep. But considering the quality of stars they have across their team, you would think that they'd be fit and firing to go. They just missed out on finals last season. Haven't been able to make finals in the Premiership era, of course. We're the only New Zealand team in the Championship to actually win back in 2012, and against the Vixens they did. So you can't help but feel like there's a bit of a rivalry, a bit of a grudge match between these two sides. We had that as well in the Bendigo Football Netball League showcase that was on beforehand. So 2 grudge matches today.
Don't we love a grudge match here in Bendigo, home of Red Energy Arena. Vixens, free option in Mundy in the pocket. She's overlooked though. Garvin will use her instead. And that's a lovely connection, albeit Garvin being pushed out of court. Austin, mid-range, against 2 sets of arms. Can't get it done. But she will do it on the second attempt. And again, level pegging. 5 apiece, 5 minutes into the first term. Of course, the other thing that's being added to the ANZ Premiership is timeouts, which we've seen throughout the Suncorp Super Netball series for a while now. Teams being able to call 90 seconds of halt play, let's regroup. I'm curious to see how Coach Mary Jane employs those as well.
Well, just with the rule changes that we've been seeing, it's somehow Hannah Mundy getting 2 hands to that ball, but you know, seeing it in the Netball Super League as well as the Premiership, the introduction of the Super Shot, these other rule changes, you kind of wonder, are we going to see them be brought out into international netball as well?
Oh, don't start that debate, G. YouTube comments will be going crazy as the fans go crazy for Walters getting hands to ball Mundy. Wasn't sure whether she'd be called for a replay. Took it anyway. And that's a great bounce pass through the arms of two sets of defenders. Lovely finish from Austin, and that is a diamond duo just doing what they do best.
Absolutely. There's more than just splitting the needle because it was a low bounce pass as well. So just the accuracy on that shot to get around the long arms was very impressive. And again, it speaks to the relationship to the players, and I think also this point in the preseason, you mentioned before, Hannah, very little off-season for the Diamonds players, and they are Diamonds shooters through and through. They played here at this very court against the Silver Ferns. You also saw Claire O'Brien, who just took the centre pass receive there, and Ekanazio both suiting up for the Silver Ferns here at Bendigo's Red Energy Arena.
Wasn't it special to see Claire O'Brien, born in Australia? She made her debut for the team in black. Meanwhile, down the other end of the court, Garvin, quick goal apart. And you almost hope that the defenders, Makari, can get some hands to it. Of course, she's 192 centimetres, the goalkeeper, so definitely got the limbs to disrupt the play. Meanwhile, O'Brien slows it down. Walters out of play. Ekanasio up the top. Great look into pocket. One fake from Wilshire and then straight into her captain, mid-range. Can't help but feel she's warming up for that 2-point time. Down by one halfway through the first quarter.
I think it'll be really interesting as well. So Georgie Tong, who's currently on the bench for the Magic, she was second in the league for intercepts last season. I wonder if she'll be injected on just to provide a little bit of a ball winner for the Magic at certain points. Mika Carey was one of the leaders in defensive rebounds, but the Vixens have been, remarkably on song early in this first quarter, and of course the short misses that they have made so far, they've meant that the goals are first to that ball.
Oh, Tui, she's posting up high. No, she has a lot of space out back. Weston happy to give her that back space. That's exactly where Tui wanted the ball. Very clever goaling craft from the young goal shooter.
Yeah, super clever. She set up that screen well, and even though, Weston has great feet to move around the body, still couldn't quite get around that space. Kate Eddy, brilliant work.
Hasn't she been great? Through the middle now, Maloney wants to score off that change in possession. Mundy, the driver. Austin used in the midcourt, and that is a great ball into the pocket. Maloney balanced on take as Austin tries to be balanced on hers. Curry not with arms over. Austin getting the goal, and it's the Vixens springing ahead now with their own centre pass, a chance to make it a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, also in that last passage of play before Kate Eddy was able to get the intercept, it was really interesting seeing Joe Weston trying to decide whether to go out to try and cut off the feed before it happened. So I'm curious to see if that's more of a play there to try and get her to come out for those intercepts on Circle's edge, break it up with the mid-quarters rather than try and hang back too far on Tui.
Well, the goalposts always feel like an extra player. Don't know if Austin felt like it was on her side then. Mundy on the circle edge. That's a beautiful hold from Garbin. Read the space perfectly, and a perfect result. So the Vixens indeed capitalising off the turnover, making it a 2-goal lead, largest in the quarter. Ekanasio short for options. O'Brien, she provides some pain relief, short options, and there's a great lead. Chewy outside of circle. Can she find her way back to post? Ekanasio with the arm wrestle against Weston. And that siren is the sound of the Power 5. So Magic with their first moments to score a 2-point shot. They opt for the one, Ekanasio presenting. So clearly on her mind, it was a key part of the pre-game routine. Not only putting up those shots and warming them up, just mentally.
Well, Garbin there parked herself to post, but then immediately fed out to go for the 2-point in and dishes it off to Austin. That's the first super shot of the game.
The Vixens make it 3 goals now. Less than 5 minutes to go. O'Brien calls desperately someone off a forward. Wilshire provides a short option again. Who will be the long drive? Kate Eddy, she might be the person who ends up with ball as Austin hits the deck. All Vixens crowded against the sideline. Who's going to balance the corridors? Garvin, she'll go deep. And Austin puts her body between the defender and the ball. Rewarded for that clever work. Lovely goal.
Yeah, and the Vixens extend the lead out to 4. I'm really curious. Well, I said pre-game that my matchup to watch was between Kate Eddy and Emiliano Ecanasio, and while it hasn't Kate Eddy stood up in this game, 2 very crucial intercepts early within the first 10 or so minutes of play. So really interesting to see how she's adjusting. Of course, you know, Eddy unfortunately never really been in Diamond's conversation, but if she's doing this well against the Silver Ferns captain, I think it'd be a good sight to see.
Oh, she's 27 years old, Kate Eddy. You'd hope she'd have enough time to get a debut in the Diamonds dress. O'Brien, recipient off the centre pass. Ecanasio now fakes one way, finds Chewy in the other. Smiles as the short ball's delivered. Where's the split option? Has to come via O'Brien.
And it really does feel like the Magic want that ball in the 2. They're working for it. No one's setting up to post, even just as a fake-out option with what we see from Garbin. But again, Tui has a look around, knows that Ecanasio is being tagged, misses the shot under the post. Will have another opportunity. And Kate Eddy once more.
Kate Eddy, hasn't she been phenomenal, coming up with ball in every part of the court? Can her teammates score off it though? High defence, Magic pushing them away from that 2-point range, and I think with the 2-point shot being such a focus for their attacking end, Coach Mary Jane has also been focused with her defenders, saying make sure now you prevent the 2-point shot. So clearly listening to their coach and trying to stop that long bomb. Well,
Irina McCary was part of Sunshine Coast Lightning double back in the early seasons of the Super Netball, but that was before the Super Shot was introduced. So, has faced the Vixens 5 times in her career here, but very different style of play was happening back then.
Well, I do love the attention that all Waikato players have been paying to their coach, MJ Araroa. Now to the transverse line. They need to find their way. 2 minutes to go in this first term. Ecanasio, she doesn't want to shoot the long bomb. Tui won't want to either. Now that's a lovely position. 45 degrees. Not to be the first super shot for Magic. Could this be the one? Vixens defenders hyper-focused on that long one. Eddie's arms not getting in the way of an Ecanasio special. What a beautiful start. Amelia and Ecanasio, the first 2-pointer of the day for Magic. Vixens blistering to post now. Austin works her way into 1-point range. Maybe she just wanted to give the dish out.
She has been doing quite a bit of the shooting load in this quarter, but well, you can see there from the Magic off the centre pass, they'd set up with more of a zone, weren't playing too much one-on-one, but the Vixens moved so quickly and with speed, they were able to break it down very, very easily.
The ball's too big for the hands of Tui. Ends up in the lap of Joe Weston. Walters now connects with Mundy. So many black dresses clogging that middle channel, so Vixens feel pushed to the sides. Quick hand still ends up in Vixens' possession. Garbin under post now. And gosh, the lead continues to extend late in this first term. 9 goals now, 33 seconds to go. Plenty of time for the Vixens to score. Maybe even via a 2-pointer. Garbin, shot short. Carrier getting the rebound. Now 21 seconds. O'Brien looks long, opts for short. Wilshire has to go short again. There's a great lead. Tui opening up for a 2-pointer. 2-point Tui doesn't drop.
And I felt like that was going to happen from one of the first shots she had in this game where she balked a couple of times. It's just something that brings the attention of the umpire, Sophie Garvin, trying to turn and shoot at the same time. But a blistering end to the quarter, Hannah.
9 goals in it. The Vixens springing ahead. Waikato Bay of plenty Magic. Plenty more in the second term after this. Quarter time here at Red Energy Arena in Bendigo, the heart of netball, and of course where we are today thanks to the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo. It's been a tough first quarter, both teams showing their experience with the Power 5 in that last moment. Vixens, of course, they're so used to those 2-point shots. Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic, learning a lot from that experience. Georgia Radjic beside me. How did you make of the visitors' last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. You could see there was a very clear game plan to go for the 2-point shot. Obviously a little bit to the detriment of them scoring because they were not really anyone close to post. So they didn't have a focal point in either the feed out. I think really easy to compare to what the Vixens do because usually you have a Sophie Garvin who's presenting as an option so at least she can feed out to an Austin on the ring. We have seen quite a few changes for the teams as well. So again, still pre-season for both, and we know the pre-season for the Magic is going to go, it's early days for them, and that's case in point there. O'Brien just missing the connection.
Well, 9 goals at quarter time. We'll see what the Vixens do with this possession. Of course, if you are a Vixens fan, great news. Home games are now on sale at John Cain Arena. So head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book tickets. And, of course, the Fan Day at Fed Square this Sunday, 23rd of March. So bring your whole family, completely free. You can meet the Vixens, grab new merch and have a fun day out thanks to the City of Melbourne. Gee, have you got your eyes on any particular merch, the Vixens line?
I love collecting player badges. It's my favourite thing to collect because I think, you can always claim them when it's their first season as well. So I always love to grab a rookie badge to add in almost a block there from McGarry.
Well, if you don't already have a Garvin badge, you might be buying one. A beautiful goal under post. Magic now with the centre pass. O'Brien to take the free pass with Weston out of play. 2-on-1. That's a great choice. Ekanasio completely free under the post. Left-hand side. She's happy to slot that one. 10-goal margin now.
Yeah, the Vixens humming along well, and of course that gives them the liberty to make some of these changes, bring on Lily Graham into goal attack, Zara Walters in centre as well. So what feels like a really young attacking line from the Vixens. Of course got Garvin there as, a little bit of a steadier, and I think she plays that role really well with some of the younger ones coming through.
Well, a great start for the younger Vixens, getting some court time, of course. There were plenty of opportunities throughout the whole pre-season to see some training partners coming through, and great to see a training partner from Waikato coming across in Amorangi Malasala. I'm keen to see her hopefully get onto court. I think she'll do a great job in the Power 5. But speaking of goalers doing a great job, Tui again converting under post. Vixens now go wide. Eddie pushing into the goal third. Mundy so strong. Don't know how Garvin got that ball off and into Mundy's hands, but that's the connection they're building. Short ball. Mikare pulling in a great rebound. O'Brien has to look laterally. A lot of short balls for Magic. Of course, they missed finals last year. Can they push forward into finals and into the circle? Chewy does it. Great goal line drive. Ekanasio, the short pop at the top of the circle. We know that beautiful arc. We've seen it so many times, both domestically and internationally. Just not dropping, though. Garvin looks short. Again, so much arm wrestling being done outside of the circle, hence why Mundy ends up with ball. And that's a great dish. Oh, it looked like a great dish, but Garvin can't quite hold on.
Yeah, I think that's just off balance there more so than anything else. It was a good feed through.
Now some goal line defensive transition play. Some great dash through the middle. Again, O'Brien has to call, please someone come forward. Where's the connection going to be? Tui, she's got 2 defenders on her. How will they use Ekanasio? She'll sweep around the goal line, and that's exactly what you'd expect. Strong body in Tui, taking 2 defenders. It's a hard job, especially if you don't get the goaling reward yourself.
Really isn't. And an important first break there for the Magic in this quarter. So what can they do? Again, just a beautiful hold from Tui just to really make it difficult for Alice. She concedes quite a few centimetres on her, but it doesn't make a difference.
You do feel for Ellis there, positioning really high. She might have to work around. I think that's the feedback given to her assistant coach, Di Honey, just speaking to her at the end of that play. Meanwhile, down the other end of the court for the the Vixens. Garvin doesn't want to shoot. Great hands from Magic trying to disrupt the flow. But a lot of strong body work. I mean, you can't talk about a team from over the ditch without talking about that physical presence, of course. Mixing up the one-on-one body work with some spatial defence. That's a great leap, but not enough to make the shot not drop for the Vixens.
And that's really what Mikari provides in that goalkeeper position. Of course, 192 centimetres. Both goalkeepers on the court right now, 192 centimetres. Beautiful positioning there from Alice. Was always in front, and able to, well, I'd argue she won the contact just because of her positioning. Didn't give Tui any other choice but to impede her movement to be able to try and win the ball.
Well, Tui got the better of her in the previous contest. Now the goalkeeper fights back. Mundy uses one fake, and that is an artful delivery. Just centimetres still in play. Great take from Garvin. Vixens bring it back to a 10-goal margin. 10 minutes to go in the second term.
I am interested that neither team have called a timeout as of yet. I would expect one within this quarter, especially closer to that Power 5 time period. So, of course, different rules at play here for the Magic, but we know the Vixens aren't a side that call too many timeouts, so I'm not expecting them to be relying on it heavily as we, have seen from other teams within the league, but curious that none have been called as of yet.
Well, I asked Coach Mary Jane Araroa during the off-season, how do you plan to use your timeouts? And she said they're probably going to be led by the players, although the coaching staff can call them too, but really focusing on using it for the change of momentum. So if you see a team spring out by a couple of goals. So I'm interested now that given it's an 11-goal margin, the momentum very much with the Vixens, when's the time to spring a change and call for some different feedback? We'll have to wait and see, hey, Georgia?
We really will. I'll be curious to see if we're going to see some, Kate Taylor coming onto the court at all, or who else is possible in terms of, for the bench in terms of goalers options. So
that I'm calling for Amarangi Malasala. I'm such a big fan of hers. Played with her in New South Wales, and I thought, what a talent. I don't know how she didn't end up on a list, of course, was with Stars last year. Ekanasio out wide. Should be rewarded. It's going to be contact, I think. Ellis caught out of play. 2-on-1 inside the circle. Lovely footwork from Tui to work herself closer to post.
I really love those low, dropped, slow bouncing balls as a feeding option. And I think as well there's so much focus on the overhead deliveries. Walters really got stuck there. Good, strong defensive pressure. But also, Vixens really needed a back pass option to come through. So surprised with the overload that was happening that they didn't spot that early and try and provide a different lead or a different angle to come off the centre pass, because losing a centre pass to a held ball call is something that really irks the coaches.
Well, luckily for the Vixens, they'll come up with ball. Magic can't score off that gifted ball. Western now lines up for that long ball. We see that time and time again, and so quickly, within 4 passes, Vixens right under post. It's a killer transition. You can't do a lot to stop 2 really long shoulder passes and then the feed into circle.
No, and it was very clear what was going to happen. Like, it was set up perfectly for it. And even it did feel like Graham might have just got the footwork there in time. It made it very difficult for Tong to try and get a hand out for the deflection. It's great netball to watch, but impossible to defend, even though you can see what's happening in front of you.
Well, Saviour Tui, again the saviour under the post, 23 years old, shot 422 goals last season, so 88.5% in that 1-point range. We'll see what she can do in the 2-point range. Kicks in 2 minutes' time. Eddie, over a long set of Claire O'Brien arms. Mundy has to use 2 fakes. Great pressure relief down along the goal line, and what a great combination. Great presentation, and do we call that an air ball?
Well, the contact call was given, so I think we're going to pretend it was in favour of, so that doesn't count as a missed shot, but I definitely would. So, well, we will have the first timeout of the match this one going to the Vixens.
So 90 seconds for both teams to regroup. Vixens grouping together for some high fives. What do you think they're going to discuss in their 90 seconds, Georgia?
Well, I can see a lot of conversations being had with the defensive end as well. So that's who Simone McInnes has been immediately drawn to. I really enjoyed what Kate Eddy was doing in goal defence in that first quarter. I would love to see her return there personally, because I thought she was winning ball in important situations. But it does seem to be like they are very much split into their areas of the court. It's not really cohesive message going to all the teams. Looking across to the Magic timeout as well, it does feel as well they also broke it into attack and defence. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is very specific information going into that Power 5 period for Waikato Bay Plenty Magic about how they're going to swing the ball around in this quarter.
Well, Waikato, they're not the only New Zealand franchise coming over to Australia. Of course, the Vixens, they're facing another opponent from across the ditch next Friday, the 28th of March, at the State Netball Centre in Parkville. So in the city, taking on the Northern Mystics. So I'm really interested to see how they match up. Of course, that'll be the Vixens' final match of pre-season. And then, of course, all eyes on the Thunderbirds. So if you do want to watch the Northern Mystics and Vixens clash, tickets on sale now. Head to melbournevixens.com.au to book, and whilst you're there, may as well buy your John Cain Arena tickets because they always sell out.
Every single year I get a message from someone saying, hey, I'm trying to go to a Vixens game the week of, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you've missed the boat. You need to buy weeks or if not months in advance depending on the clash. They're some of the hottest tickets in town.
Well, this is a direct message to Georgia Radzic's friends. Don't hit her up. Buy your tickets now.
Please, no Twitter DMs. Just go straight to the Ticketek website now.
Absolutely. melbournevixens.com.au as well. Back onto court. Mundy, bounce pass. Gets it in as a feed, but Garvin doesn't want to shoot from long range. In a minute's time, it'll count for two, but it won't count for two now. Works herself closer to post. And Auntie E, as she's known within Team Magic, getting some great arms over, just not enough to put off the shot. Ekanasio short to O'Brien. Again, those two interplaying, but that's a fantastic hold from Tui. Can't pull the ball in, and again, Ellis comes up with the Gilbert.
I feel like that was another Kate Eddy win to add to the tally as well, the work she was doing on the edge of the circle. But again, just really strong defensive work from the Vixens. Pass from Joe West in there, really dangerous area. Vixens lucky to get the sideline throw in their favour.
Well, great one-on-one contest. It goes the way of Magic. Could almost hear the far now back in New Zealand cheering at home for that one as we hear the siren for the Power 5. So now that defensive masterclass can be rewarded with a 2-point shot. Of course, with an 11-goal margin, you'd want to start to minimise that. O'Brien through the middle. Not a lot of inspiration down that goaling circle because Ellis is doing such a good job of pestering high and not letting the 2-point go. And that's exactly why Ellis does it. Coming up with ball. Beautiful intercept from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, great work. And again, I think it's to the Magic's detriment. They're really only trying to play to receive the ball in the 2-point zone. I think they need to actually have someone hanging closer to post to see they can feed back and at least at the very least have an option to go for a goal, because at the moment they're just passing the ball to no avail with no feed with attempt.
Well, I almost thought that Erina Mikari almost had hands to that. She didn't though. Very, very close though. Of course, she's been around the Magic family for so long. First there in 2011. Played at a few different clubs in the meantime. Great to see her back in the black dress.
Of course, she was the first New Zealand player to play in what was then the ANZ Championship for an Australian-based team when she moved across to the West Coast Fever. Then, of course, played just missing that shot, Graham. But I think it's just also still very funny that you have one of the youngest players on court in Lily Graham against the oldest in Mikari as well. But it shows that she still has the ability to keep up at this level.
Got more than an ability to keep up, does the Dennis Rodman of Rotorua. So I think that's one of the best nicknames I've heard in netball. Meanwhile, Magic trying to get into that goaling third. They do so now. 2-on-1 inside the circle. And there's the miscommunication. Tui somehow keeps the ball in. O'Brien has to look back to the transverse line. A lot of busyness out the front. Ekanasio trying to nullify a body. Holds post space. Catches it in the 2 though. Just doesn't drop. Oh gosh. Another opportunity for the Vixens. Down the middle of the court goes Mundy. Walters looked off balance, holds on to it though. And again, Mundy taking a lot of time, has to look back. Too much time, in fact. The 3-second call from the umpires. And again, Magic, 12 goals, just over 2 minutes. O'Brien through the middle, has to offer way back. You want someone to burst through the middle. Who will it be? No black dresses taking that middle drive. Again, having to look backward. Feels like Walters in the middle, just trying to do a lot of defensive work, patrolling that middle corridor. Western too.
Western doing a really strong tagging role in Ekanasio at the moment. She's really made it difficult for her to make any sort of lead towards the ball without having her right on her tail.
Well, this is the Vixens' fitness coming into play, taking an eternity to work the ball to post. But Magic, they'll get there anyway. Ellis out of play. And Tui, great one-pointer. The scoreline ticks along for the Magic. 11 goals, though, 90 seconds remaining.
Well, what was so curious about that is that repeatedly what we've seen from the Magic is trying to get the ball in that 2-point zone. They finally get the ball in the 2-point zone, then it's passed off to the shooter in the 1, closer to post. So I'm guessing it just wasn't in the optimal angle to go for that long-range shot, but still very curious to see that was the outcome of that passage of play.
Oh, Tui, she gets that shot off quickly, and she'll need to be quick. 1 minute now for the Vixens. The high hold is there. Garvin with a ripper take. Ripping it in along the goal line, but she wants to give off the 2. Graham can't make it drop. Again, a lot of 2-point issues for both sides of the court. Garvin squealing for the ball. Luckily, oh gosh.
Georgie Tong going past the chairs straight into the railing, so able to get up, but just making sure that everything's put back up correctly. And we've also lost the ball. We're sitting with the bench players there as well.
Gosh, a lot going on for the Magic. 30 seconds now. The clock kept going. Vixens. Long shot, Graham. Oh, and a rejection. How good is that? Magic defenders. Bit of defensive magic.
Incredible for Mikari.
Long shot now. Short shot. Or rather, just not enough loop on it. 10 seconds now. Can the Magic bomb the ball down? No. Excellent work, Mundy. She'll put a stop to those plans and put a stop to the second term. Of course, halftime, 10 goals in it. Vixens leading the way, 32-22.
The Get Active Victoria app is an easy way to step into everyday activity with videos on yoga, dance, low impact and more. Set your own goals and track your progress. Download the free Get Active Victoria app today.
for a second half of action here at Red Energy Arena in Bendigo. Of course, we're here thanks to the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo. My name, Hannah Kuhar. Georgia Rajic beside me. Gee, 10 goals in it so far. How do you like the Magic's chances of coming back in this second half?
Well, they've done a lot of changes going into this second half, so I think that's an opportunity to test some combinations, but also try and, reduce that deficit. I'll let you talk through some of those changes in the goaling circle because it features a player you're personally very excited about, Hannah.
The one about to shoot the lights out, or maybe I've called it a bit early. Amorangi. She is a superstar, has played a bit of netball in Australia, somehow without a contract. She was with the Stars last year, now a training partner for the Magic. Of course, Silver Fern, 186. Amorangi Malesala. I was just checking out the attendance numbers, G. Do you want to have a guess?
I'm going to say roughly 3,000-ish.
Oh, you'd be right. 3,221 in the house. Pretty much not a free seat. Don't know if you can make it out in the back of the stands, but a full house here at Red Energy Arena. As it's goal for goal, Vixens with the centre pass now. Mundy, a new look centre. Saw her earlier in the match in wing attack, now taking control through the middle. Short ball, Walters goes a little too long, and that connection still building between the new wing attack and new centre.
Yeah, curious that we've seen a different centre at the start of every quarter for the Vixens. Of course, I don't really expect this to be replicated once this Super Netball season starts on April 5th. Because as we know, Simone McInnes not a coach that loves to pull a lot of substitutions. But it is interesting to see that we've now seen Mundy, Walters and Maloney all get the opportunity to start the quarter out and centre as the ball gets stuck in the ring.
While Ella shakes it out. The Magic down by 8. So clawing it back. Can they make it 7 now? Malesala heads to post, mid-range. Maybe just warming up for that 2-point time. That shot not working out, but somehow still holding on to ball. Another long-range shot. And there's some much better play from Magic. Working it closer to post. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I think we'll be really curious to see with this shooting combination what happens in the Power 5. We know that the Magic were capable of finding their goalers when they chose the 1-point shot, and beautiful work from McCary there to just steal the ball in midair and long vision.
Oh, and around the back. Those are the tricks that Malesala brings to the court. Catching it still on the court. That is artful. That will get her team up and about, and it's gotten her team so up and about that the Vixens have to call a timeout. That's very quick into the second half.
Yeah, something I probably wasn't expecting considering how long we had to wait for the first time out deep in the second quarter. But really curious to see exactly what has happened with those changes on court for the Magic. I think the difference in the shooting option, of course, a lot of fresh defenders on here for the Vixens as well. Maggie Karras getting some important minutes at goal defence. Of course, has been involved in the setup for quite some years. Her 4th year as a training partner, is the current temporary replacement player as well for Emily Maddox, who, of course, had her baby back in January. So it will be a crucial part of the Vixens 10 for at least the opening part of the season.
Of course, Karras. She's from a regional area herself, the Kwantong in the Wimmera region. So great to see a lot of regional netball being celebrated here. Of course, all the fans on their feet in this timeout. Of course, a lot of love for the region of Bendigo at the moment. And if you do want to watch some more netball, of course, the Vixens are heading to Adelaide to take on the Thunderbirds in a grand final rematch in round 1. So get those tickets via melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book that one. And if you want to check out the Vixens at the annual Fan Day, that's this Sunday. So cancel all of your plans. Make sure those plans are at Fed Square. Free event. The whole family can meet the Vixens. Is there a particular player that your family's looking forward to meeting, Georgia?
I think I'd be most excited to talk to Kipper. I think she's had such a brilliant season last year as well. I think she had a great season both domestically and internationally. So, you know, I always love having, you know, getting to have my photos with the players. And also, I always love to meet Foxy. Got to meet Foxy.
Well, I think Foxy has been working overtime in the stands of Red Energy Arena as the Magic continue to narrow this margin. 5 goals now. We haven't seen that since the first term. Defenders coming absolutely alive. And you can see the Magic, they're all up and about. Maloney off court as the pass is taken. O'Brien so dominant in this wing attack bib. Tries to bring it closer to circle edge. Looks like whatever Coach Simone McInnes tried to swing hasn't been put into any great effect so far. As that 5-goal margin closes to 4 minutes into the third term.
Yeah, it's been a really strong start to this final quarter from the Magic. Even Claire O'Brien there had to do a full pivot to find an option, but they're just I think that's the big difference. There's always an option open for the Magic. They've at times struggled, and brilliant here from Malasala to just let the ball roll to her to get in the optimum position to shoot.
She has a tough day out in front of her. 3 goals now. How quickly things can change. Maloney has to dash through the back. The captain needing to make an impression on her younger mid-court at the moment out the front. And there's some expertise in Kipper, the player you just mentioned, Kira Austin. Now in shooting range, mid-range, makes it look good. And the Vixens claw one back. Their defenders with all the work to do. O'Brien easily over the line, shaking off her defender.
Just their second goal for the quarter. Magic having had 8. Some beautiful work there from Mundy.
Finding the ball and plucking it out of midair. Does the daughter of Shelley O'Donnell go? A lot of wide setup now for the Vixens. Mundy having to go through the middle. And check this goal. I love this goaling setup. Just working for a little pocket of space between 2 defenders. And Austin making that setup work. So the Vixens, they're holding on by a slight margin. Back to 5 goals, 5 minutes into the third quarter. And under the post, free option. That is a great take, Graham. She does all the hard work to end up free. Can't get the first goal in. Gets the second attempt. Or no, it'll be called back again. Set the penalty properly now. Third time lucky.
Yeah, I'm really curious about where Zara Walters is going in some of these second phase areas.
As I can't tell if there's a bit of Hollywood action or how much that push was there. The umpires say there was body contact. So Kira Austin will be rewarded for her efforts under post. And geez, Coach MJ might not be happy with that. Pressure reliever for the Vixens.
Whenever something like that happens, I can't help but think of the very classic Gretel Boetta versus Joe Weston in the early days of SSN. But it did feel like Austin maybe tripped on her own feet a bit more. We'll have to watch in the replay, Hannah.
Well, doesn't matter what happened now. In the rearview mirror, great ball. Malasala again pushing to top O'Brien, and now the reward under post. Feels like the momentum swung back to the Vixens for a second, but off that centre pass, you can be reinvigorated if you're a Magic fan.
Yeah, I feel like Zara Walters really getting stuck, just in terms of she's leading away from the ball, but she needs to cut in front and do a really hard diagonal drive because she's hanging out backwards in spaces. But I feel like with this level of defence that the Vixens are coming up against, she's just putting herself in a position where no one is going to pass to her because it's a very interceptable ball.
Well, pressed along the sideline, O'Brien fakes one way, goes high over. Oh, I thought it was going to go straight into the hands of Maloney, but the no-look fade. Malasala making an absolute mockery of these Vixens defenders.
She really is. What a player to watch. Cannot believe that she was not given a full contracted position in the Premiership this season.
Oh, she is a Silver Fern. Looks very comfortable in the black dress of the Magic. Vixens, they hit the 40-goal mark. Just be holding on to now the 8-goal margin. So Magic wanting to close it up halfway through the third term now.
Hannah, what do you think has changed since that timeout where the Vixens are unable to bring themselves back into this quarter? Because they were down 8-2 for that opening stanza of it.
Yeah, I think the Vixens, they weren't expecting the effective changes through the front end for the Magic. I think they were a little bit slow to reply. Just needing to find some spark, and I think for the mid-quarters, we spoke about the combination that we're seeing at the moment in wing attack and centre. Two different faces. Mundy not used to playing as much centre for the Vixens, and especially not, I guess, in this pre-season. So it'll be a case of that mid-court figuring things out, I reckon, G. But they're slowly figuring it out. O'Brien, though, doing her own work in the wing attack bib. Oh, straight into the arms of Kira Austin. There's no easier intercept to pull into than that one.
No, and she made sure she was catching that with the way that she crossed that line of the pass. So, again, you know, she's someone who's really regularly applauded for her ability to play as a defensive goal attack and win ball, and that's part and parcel.
Well, Coach MJ said she wanted her players to stand up when a timeout needed to be called. Claire O'Brien, the senior player, calling for that timeout. We'll keep our eyes on lip reading exactly what the Magic are going to discuss. I dare say they'd be celebrating the fact that they sprung quite close with a 3-goal margin, but they're now letting it drift again, G.
Yeah, and I think that's something they really need to be aware of, because they're having the ability to claw their way back into this game, and they've been within, you know, touching distance, and we know how dangerous these teams can be in 2-point time periods. So I am curious with the current shooting duo how they will approach that power 5. I actually think that this will be a potentially stronger combination, because they seem to be working really well, and what we've seen with it, Malasala's ability to win ball in those tight congested areas, I think that will be the difference in the power 5 section for the Magic.
We'll see what they do. Of course Waikato Bay are playing Magic. They're not unused to having slower starts. It was an area of note for them in 2024, and they said we want to get faster at really getting onto the court. Of course, with 10 rounds in their premiership season this year, there's not a lot of time to have a slow start to the season, and especially slow starts to matches. So dare I say, this is their first pre-season match, though. They're learning these lessons, and hopefully they figure it out by May. What an impressive showing for a team that's been together for 3 days so far this pre-season, Georgia.
Yeah, and they'll also be really benefiting on the fact that there's minimal changes from their 2024 team that just missed out on finals. So you would think that the relationships and connections would be well established now, that it'll be that little bit easier going into the season. But with only 10 rounds, it's not very long at all for them. It's really difficult to drop any games and any points because of how tight it will be at the top of the table.
Well, someone who's used to being at the top of the table, making it work, Kira Austin, getting another one. It's back to a 10-goal margin. So 30 seconds until the power 5. Will the Magic look to claw back via 2-pointers? Who knows? Malasala has to have 2 fakes almost into the arms of Ellis. Hasn't she been good protecting that post space? Long arms, 193-centimetre frame, and the defenders will do enough for the Vixens.
Yeah, and again, I think now it's a hesitation going into that power 5 of where the ball needs to be placed. I think they should stick to simple netball, and if the opportunity arises, just play like you would for the remaining 10 minutes.
How would you, which team, as we see an incredible rebound just plucked out of the air. Mikare just getting hands to it. Just going to ask you, G, if you had to liken the Magic's Power 5 style so far to an SSN team, where would you be making the comparison?
Giants netball?
Giants. Putting up a lot of 2s.
Well, the thing is, that seems to be the aim, that they're going exclusively for the 2s. The issue is that they haven't been able to get into that 2-point zone to safely receive a feed. So,
it is a good comparison to make. Of course, Julie Fitzgerald, coach of the Giants. She spent her time in Waikato. Jamie Lee Price as well, a former Magic player. Joe Harton, I mean, there's the direct comparison. Harton, the 2-point specialist for the Giants, and a former Magic player herself. Sam Winders, Kim Green, Sea Bass. I mean, the list really does go on of players who have worn both the orange dress and the black one.
Well, it does, from this distance, feel like there's a little hints of orange on the black dress, so... But that could probably just be my poor eyesight from up here in the nest.
Well, we're seated up so high because there are so many fans packed into Red Energy Arena in Bendigo. Clara Bryan can't hold on, chases the ball up anyway. The Vixens playing a bit of box defence. This is different, a different style of defensive work, trying to add a bit of New Zealand magic to their own defensive spatial awareness. Maybe it's enough to work out Western pulling in the rebound.
Yeah, exactly what you just said there, Hannah. I wonder if that's just going to be an answer to some of the issues they were having last season. And given that it's not they're going to be playing with a new look defence. I feel like Emily Mannix's impact on this team, without her for at least the start of the season, it gives them a little bit of opportunity to shuffle the cards and introduce a new style of play. So it does seem like very cohesive team effort. Of course, Alice, Eddie and have been involved in the Vixen system for quite some time, but we saw so often with Weston and Mannix of how they managed to work that split circle. So I wonder if this is the next phase in their defence.
Well, it might be, or it might be, oh, no, it will be, oh no, just ball spilling everywhere. Alasala for two, she makes it drop. It's exactly what the Magic needed.
And it gets her captain off on her feet from the bench as well. So
Amelia Anacannasio, you can't help but wonder what can she do with 2-point shots against her name. Just under 2 minutes now in the third quarter, 8 goals in it. And the refeed is given to Mundy. Graham wanting to get herself around top of circle positioning. Austin instead the free option. And virtually undefended, still can't make the shot drop. 2-point difficulties for players on both sides of the court. Graham tries to do her best, getting hands on ball.
Yeah, I think she also was pushing her luck there. So there was definitely a couple of advantage contacts and obstructions paid for her way. So then she just continued on her merry way before she got called.
Osala pushing into pocket. O'Brien has eyes only for Amor. But only hands getting in the way. Ellis doing a great job. Her deflection count feels off the charts tonight.
It really does. I wish we did have champ data here for our support, just because I feel like there's all these great defensive wins across both teams this evening. Always great to see, the rejection we saw before Fumigari as well.
Well, I feel like with Ellis, she's made our pen ink bleed dry. That's how many intercepts and deflections she's had. So a lot of work for that defensive end for the Vixens. Confused options in the circle though. Austin dashing left, right. Luckily, Graham can sink the shot. 23 seconds now, so there's one last centre pass in it for the Magic. O'Brien has to put it high into the pocket somehow. Alasala holds on to the ball. 14 seconds. That's a great goal for Magic. Vixens spurring ahead. They want to score. 9 seconds, 8. And that is a great offer. Graham double backing. And a great reward for last minute play. It's the Vixens holding on to a 9-goal lead into the final 15 minutes of action. Plenty more after this break. 15 minutes of netball remaining here at Red Energy Arena in Bendigo. Of course, we're here thanks to the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo ahead of the Vixens kicking off their Suncorp Super Netball season when they head to Adelaide to take on the Thunderbirds in a grand final rematch in round one. My name's Hannah Kuha. Beside me, Georgia Radjic. Do you have an early tip for that match, Vixens v T-Birds?
I can't help but feel like it'll go down to the wire. We did see the Thunderbirds get the win at the Ballarat Blitz a couple of weeks ago, but I also do think, the grand final was very close. It was over across in Adelaide as well. The semi-final, not so much, but I think the Vixens are steadily working on it. Of course, we never know until the final whistle, I guess, with netball. It does seem like the Vixens are raring to go.
Well, you never know. Joe Weston keeps serving up defensive efforts like that where the Vixens can go. Of course, if you are a Vixens fan, melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to get your tickets to all of the home games at John Cain Arena this year. We're back on court and it's a 9-goal make that 8-goal margin between the visitors, Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic and the Vixens. So there are a few different positional changes. I know, G, you were just about to...
Yeah, and also really important that the Magic won that last quarter. So they were able to put a strong showing in there as well, just to win by one, reduce the margin back to what it was at the first break. So they started that third quarter really, really strongly, and it'll be interesting to see if they do so again. They went on an 8-2 goal run before that first time out. So it is interesting looking at also the substitutions for the Vixens. Maggie Karras has come back on court as goalkeeper, Joe Weston in goal defence, Kate Eddy in wing defence, Kate Maloney in centre, Zara Walters wing attack, goal attack is Kira Austin, and goal shooter is Sophie Garvin. So a fair few changes across, and I would say probably a more settled combination. I guess the only one you would say would be a little bit different would be Rudy Allison goalkeeper and maybe Hannah Mundy wing attack from what you would expect from the starting seven for the Vixens.
Yeah, maybe a more settled combo, but it feels like pretty much every player is now playing a different position. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on how the Vixens settle. Of course, these two sides, they went at it hard last pre-season, and again, building a beautiful relationship, the Magic and the Vixens. Of course, that partnership between Vixens and teams from over in New Zealand continues, taking on the Northern Mystics next week in the Vixens' final match of pre-season at the State Netball Centre in Parkville. So can't wait to see how that one pans out. Meanwhile, the Vixens, geez, everybody in a line. What a touch pass, though. Garvin into Austin. Austin not wanting to shoot, and she's got hands all over her. Would rather take the penalty shot. Just around that 2-point range, of course, counting for one. Nope. Opts to look for Garvin, who digs up so much gold. The girl from Kalgoorlie making it happen. Magic now, long ball. 1-on-1 inside the circle. Captain Ekanasio back onto court. Bodying up against Weston. Where's the option? Dash out. And again, that's a great hold. Almost looked like Harris was going to get her hands to it, but space so well protected.
It was a great directing ball from Ekanasio. She put it exactly where she wanted Taylor to move into. I'm excited to see, Ekanasio back in court. I want to see another opportunity with her in that Power 5 period, but I really would love to see her with Malasala on court as well.
I think they'd be the two more experienced goalers working together. Of course, Malasala, she might be a training partner as her teammates do some awesome work down the other end. Malasala, she might be a training partner for Magic, but she is a Silver Fern, so there is that Silver Fern connection between Ekanasio and Malasala. Of course, the other goalers in the rotation, Kate Taylor. She's been a training partner in 2024. Also suited up for Hamilton City in the New Zealand Open Champs. They placed 4th last year. So 2025, her first contract. So another goaler to work into the combination. And of course, Kaya Kappa, other training partner for the Magic. At home at the moment in New Zealand, the 19-year-old not getting the call up to come over to Australia. So we'll have to see what happens with all of the different combinations for Magic throughout the year. Meanwhile, those 2-point attempts, or I should say 2-point range, not dropping for Ekanasio tonight. Maloney trying to steady the ship for the Vixens through the middle. Now into the pocket. Austin happy to chuck up a long range because she gets them in every time. And the Vixens, they pass the 50-goal mark now to 51 at 39.
Yeah, and interesting to see what Garvin was doing in that last passage of play. She really just directed it to allow Kira Austin to have the space to set up in front and go for goal. But then this time around, she's the one who demanded the ball off the hold. So it's really nice to see how the two Vixens goalers can work in tandem together, especially considering, you know, their relationship building year upon year.
Edgecombe now might be used again around that transverse line. No. Pushing close to the circle edge, and that was a brave choice given that it was a 2-on-1 situation from Ekanasio. Vixens doing their best to push the ball down court. Eddie, strong drive, long wind up from Weston. And that's the beautiful work of that front end, how quickly they can find their way to circle edge and then to post. It's the end of their pre-season compared to Magic being at the start of theirs, and you can see that combination that's been building for the Vixens all summer long.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this, Hannah. We've seen what I felt like from Sophie Garvin in this pre-season is her quickness of foot seems to have increased year on year from the back end of last year. Are you also seeing that or something else?
Absolutely. I think it's the footwork, but then also the sense of touch. I mean, there's no better play than that one. Just then, a small pop pass in netball. You don't have to do crazy shoulder passes all the time. Sometimes it's just an artful touch. And I think Garvin, she gets more miles into those legs, starting to figure out, and especially when she's working in Diamond's combination and Vixen's combination with Austin. As a timeout is called, so 90 seconds for both teams to reset and have a bit of a chat. Again, Vixens breaking into specialist groups. Magic also having some specialist chats. Which area of the court are you looking to lift most in this next period, Georgia?
Well, I think it might be in the mid-court potentially for the Magic. And I think, well, we saw a couple of times towards the end there that Mahi was getting caught flat-footed as the dodge was on, or the little movement we've just been talking about for Garvin. So I think she needs to commit to either sticking on her or just pushing her back, standing in front of her to prevent that hold towards post. For the Vixens, I'm not quite sure. I think with what we've seen so far, it is a better start to the quarter than we definitely saw in the previous one. I think you can see there's a lot of conversation being led there by Kira Austin, who of course is part of the leadership group there for the Vixens. So, and also from Garvin. So it does seem to be led from the attackers, maybe providing some of that insight through the defence.
Well, those are the thoughts of Georgia Rajic, our expert commentator for today. She said to both mid-courts, you've got to lift. Who's going to be the person to do it? 9 minutes to go in this final term. As Eddie, I mean, you speak about mid-quarters lifting, the wing defence springing into action.
I just think undoubtedly whenever Eddie has been on the court in this game, she's provided something for the Vixens in defence, which has just been, you know, it's difficult to quantify. Obviously there's the intercepts and deflections, but I think she's just been remarkable in this game.
Well, she started in goal defence, now showing her prowess in wing ding. Speak about prowess. Garvin, mid-range, takes time. Shot short, though. Great defensive rebound from the Magic. They've been pulling those in all day. Now looking laterally through the middle of the court. Who's going to take the drive? Vixens, again, using a bit of a box or zone kind of defence to prevent the middle option. Over the... Melody giving away early penalties, so that way the ball's released. I was going to say almost perfectly, if not for the long arm of Keris, albeit caught out of play.
Yeah, just curious about the placement of the passing there as well. I'm wondering if it's just a newer player coming into the fold, so to speak, with Taylor, or it does seem sometimes that it is placed a little bit more in front of her than what we'd see with some other players.
Well, Austin, her placement of this shot looks great. Sinking the mid-range. The Vixens very comfortable in this fourth term, 15 goals now, largest margin of the day, halfway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Hannah, I'll throw your question back to you. Sorry, what do you think for both teams need a lift in the final half of this quarter?
I really want, if I'm going to be on Team Magic, just the patience of the feed, hitting from circle edge and finding a nice short option into the goalers. I think Ekanasio, you see her now being used outside of the circle. If she's going to score goals, she has to be inside of it. So it's up to the mid-court to keep being balls through the middle and working their way to circle edge, as they've done just now. Longer shot, and it goes through. So there's the reward for the mid-quarters efforts. We love to see wins for mid-quarters. Am I biased at all? Definitely not.
Who's to say?
I'm sure plenty of you on YouTube have your thoughts as the defensive end tries to come alive, Magic. Garvin, though, confident under post, keeps that 15-goal lead. Oh, the fans, they get around it. The posters are out. I think they can sense the Vixens are going to have a great year. Of course, the Vixens hosting their fan day at Fed Square this Sunday. So get down, free event, meet those Vixens and grab some new merch. Really fun day ahead thanks to the City of Melbourne. As long court opportunity beckons for the Vixens, they've practiced this all summer. How do they set up? All plays down the spine of the court. Very interesting. Maloney, bad hands, but pulls it back.
It must be said, it is quite humid here in Bendigo today. Coming into the venue, there's quite a lot of rain in the area. Talking to one of the locals, it said this is probably the coolest day they've probably experienced this year, but it still is quite humid, and given the conditions, I would say just a little fumbles coming into play. It is interesting the longer this game goes on as well. Just those little scrappy bits coming into action.
Well, 22 degrees outside, but hot, full of action in here. Red Energy Arena. Red hot Vixen springing ahead. Garvin working her way to post. That was such a clever move. Great result. Vixens continue to put their foot on the accelerator as we head into the final Power 5. That's right, 2-point shots activated. Into the pocket now. Where will Magic want to shoot? Interesting now, they're looking for ones and twos, although Ekanasio will have eyes only for the 2-point. It still can't drop. Oh, you feel for the veteran. Usually so accurate from long shot range.
Well, that was almost some ruck action from Maggie Karras from back in her AFLW days, of course. Played for the Melbourne Demons, but she was able to just tap that onto Joe Weston in the end.
Well, she was drafted back in 2020, so really not that long ago. Still remembering her footy skills. An occupational therapist in training. So many talents for one youngster. Speaking of talents, Vixens keep using theirs. So edge closer to that 60-goal mark. Lateral ball doesn't work. Walters looks disappointed with herself. She's got high expectations. Austin just getting pushed around. She'll be caught out of play. Appeals to the umpire. No cigar. Ekanasio now has to look outside of the circle. Now the Magic working their way to circle edge. That's what we called for earlier. Ekanasio, will it drop? Yes, it does. Ekanasio coming alive.
And this is what I've been waiting for all match, and especially in the lead up to this match as well. We know what a beautiful long-range shot Ekanasio has. So seeing it now in action, I do think having Taylor on the court in the goal shooter is complementing the Magic a little bit more in this Power 5, because she is hanging closer to the post. It means that Ekanasio can do the work in front. Even before, with another super shot going her way, we saw Taylor got the contact call against her from Karras. It was because she was holding high still, and that allowed Ekanasio to still take the penalty pass or shot.
Well, two in quick succession for Ekanasio. Real captain's effort to get her team closer into this contest. Of course, Ekanasio, she shot 88% last match in the ANZ Premiership season against the Southern Steel. So percentage coming up now with the two-pointer. Two two-pointers dropping. Eddie with the sideline throw-in. Maloney overlooks the middle drive in Austin. Long ball, Weston again pushing deep. Ball pushed over the goal line, Vixens to reset. 2.5 minutes to go. Still that 15-goal margin. Garvin making it 16, pushing it further ahead. Of course, so many different Vixens getting a call up today. Lots of different combinations. I dare say Coach Simone McInnes will stick with this one for the final few minutes. A clanger from Walters, and the ball will go to the sideline. Just can't hold on.
Yeah, and it definitely does look like heavy landing on the floor there. You see the first member. Well,
umpire Tim Marshall halting play and calling for some towel action.
Yeah, towel action today. No Sabco mops, unfortunately, for the Vixens mop squad. We do know that they're the best in the league. But you can just see, considering the intensity of the action, surprised this is the first time we've had to call upon them.
Oh, it does feel like that, and it has been nail-biting action. Of course, we had a curtain raiser earlier as well, seeing the best of the Bendigo Football Netball League. Now we're seeing the best of the Vixens when Garvin lines up for a long one again. Short shot. Almost feels like she needs the Amelia Ann arc. Opposite stories for the two goalers. That's a better result though for Garvin. Makes the two go through. With 90 seconds to go now. 18 goals. Magic. It's their first match play of their pre-season. They've only had 5 on-court sessions in the lead up to this one. Flew into Australia 4 p.m. yesterday, so a tight turnaround. A franchise making the most of this opportunity in Australia. They'll go against the Vic men's side tomorrow, who are lining up for their own Nationals performance. But Ekanasio, she's putting on a performance for her nation. The way she's shooting there, Silver Ferns captain.
Well, absolutely, she is a brilliant player, of course, as well. So nice to see what she's able to do on the court here in Bendigo. But I really am, that's probably the player I'm most excited to watch in this season of the ANZ Premiership is Ekanasio in this 2-point time period.
Well, of course, this was the first time that the Magic have experienced a Power 5. They've got 30 seconds of it to go off the centre pass. 23 seconds now. You'd think there'd be enough time to score in either the 1 or 2 point range. Ekanasio calling for the front option. Ball's delivered out back. Ekanasio to take the penalty shot. 9 seconds to go. Now she's found her feet. Amelia Ann Ekanasio. She's drawing the margin that little bit closer. Garvin, can she chuck it up? Ball was out of play, and that will be the match. 65-49. What a performance. 16 goals at the end of the day. Melbourne Vixens have got one pre-season match to go. Gee, they're humming along.
They really are. I think an exciting performance for Vixens fans for a couple of reasons as well. Got to see a lot of the combinations being tested on court as we have throughout the pre-season, but it's also just wonderful to see how that goal circle of Kira Austin and Sophie Garvin is going. As a Vixens fan, if you watch this match, you'll be like, cannot wait for April 5th. Bring on the Thunderbirds. Can't wait to see them.
Well, of course, that Suncorp Super Netball season will kick off, as Georgia mentioned, on Saturday the 5th of April. So get your tickets, Vixens fans. John Cain Arena, your home ground. Head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book. And, of course, the next milestone, Fan Day, Federation Square this Sunday, the 23rd of March. Free event for the whole family. So if you want to meet your favourite Vixens, grab merch or just have a fun day out, thanks to the City of Melbourne, you can do so this Sunday. So head down to that one. I'm very excited because there are so many pre-season matches still to come. The Vixens, they have their last one facing the Northern Mystics. So if you're a fan of either the ANZ Premiership or the SSN, or probably both, you want to keep your eyes on that one next Friday at the State Netball Centre in Parkville. So tickets again on sale for that one. Georgia Rajic, thank you so much for all of your expert thoughts. Any last remarks from this one?
Well, I think we should actually have a, Champions League with the champions of all the high-quality netball leagues across the world play against each other, so we have more opportunities like this.
Wouldn't that be a treat? See last year's grand finalists go toe-to-toe. Maybe we get some, Super League 2.0 kicks off in the UK. That could be an option. Well, tell Georgia Rajic your thoughts on Twitter. You know she'll want to have that chat. My name's Hannah Kuhar. Thanks for joining us on broadcast. We can't wait to catch you again soon.